The grand ballroom sparkled with lights, a sea of glittering gowns and polished shoes. Celeste Whitmore stood at the center, her confidence radiating. She was the star of the evening, a vision in a designer dress that hugged her figure perfectly. Laughter and whispers filled the air, but all attention was on her. "Look at Celeste, she's incredible," someone said, and the crowd nodded in agreement, their eyes glued to her. But as Celeste reveled in the admiration, the atmosphere shifted. The doors opened, and in walked June, her childhood friend. June wore a simple, modest dress that contrasted sharply with the extravagant outfits around her. The chatter quieted for a moment, and Celeste felt a pang of discomfort. June's entrance, though innocent, felt like a spotlight on the very friendship Celeste had tried to leave behind. "Celeste, there you are!" June called out, her voice bright and hopeful. Celeste turned, her heart racing. She wanted to rush to June, to embrace her as they once did, but something held her back. "You look nice," Celeste said, forcing a smile, her voice tight. "Thanks, I thought I'd come support you," June replied, her enthusiasm unwavering. Celeste felt a swell of guilt rise within her. Why did she care so much about appearances? Yet, the glances from her peers reminded her of the image she had crafted over the years, the elegant, untouchable Celeste. As June approached, Celeste's mind raced. She loved June, but what would her friends think? Would they mock her for associating with someone so ordinary? Maybe I should just stay focused on the party, she thought. In a moment of weakness, she turned her back, pretending to be engrossed in a conversation with someone else. "Celeste?" June's voice trembled slightly, tinged with confusion. "Are you okay?" But Celeste didn't respond. She felt the weight of her choice settle over her like a heavy cloak. As June stood there, a flicker of hurt crossing her face, Celeste felt a sharp sting of regret. "What am I doing?" she thought, but the fear of losing her status held her captive. The laughter around her resumed, but it felt distant. June's expression shifted from confusion to pain, and Celeste's heart sank. She could see June's shoulders slump, a defeated posture that spoke volumes. In that moment, Celeste realized she had chosen the shallow, glittering world over the deep, genuine bond they once shared. "Fine, if that's how you want it," June whispered, turning away. Celeste's heart raced as she watched her friend walk out of the ballroom, her simple dress disappearing into the crowd. The laughter and chatter around her faded to a dull roar. She had made her choice, and the price was steep. As the night wore on, Celeste felt the weight of the gala pressing down on her. The laughter felt hollow, the admiration tainted. She caught glimpses of June outside, standing alone under the streetlight, looking small and hurt. The guilt gnawed at her insides, but the fear of judgment from her peers kept her rooted in place. "Is this really who I am?" Celeste asked herself, her mind racing with doubt. She wanted to scream, to run to June and apologize, to tell her that their friendship meant more than all this glitter. But the walls she had built around herself felt impenetrable. What if I lose everything? The night came to an end, but the rift between them would linger long after the last guest had left. As Celeste stared into the mirrored walls of the ballroom, she saw a reflection that felt foreign to her. The girl who had once danced freely with June now stood trapped in a world of pretense, struggling to find her way back to the truth. In that moment of silence, the echoes of laughter faded, leaving only the sound of her own heartbeat. The choice had been made, but at what cost? Would she ever be able to mend the broken pieces of her heart? The gala had ended, but the real story was just beginning. As Celeste Whitmore moved through the hallways of Crescent High, the noise of laughter and chatter surrounded her like a thick fog. She smiled and nodded at her new friends, yet a shadow loomed over her heart. Flashbacks of her earlier days flooded her mind, days spent with June, where laughter was genuine and not tied to the shimmering facade of popularity. In one such memory, Celeste recalled a sunny afternoon at the park. She and June had shared secrets under the wide branches of an old oak tree. "You are the best friend anyone could have," Celeste had said, her young voice filled with sincerity. June had grinned, her eyes sparkling with joy. "And you are the brightest star in the sky, Celeste," they had laughed, believing that their bond would last forever. Now, as she stood in the crowded cafeteria, the laughter felt hollow. Her new group of friends chatted about their latest outings, their conversations revolving around designer clothes and the hottest parties. "Did you see the new collection at Luxe Boutique?" one girl asked, flipping her perfect hair. "I have to get my hands on those heels." "Who cares about heels?" another girl scoffed, rolling her eyes. "It's all about the Insta followers. If you don't have at least 1,000, you're basically invisible." Celeste's heart sank. She could not help but feel the emptiness in their words. She had traded her true self for this hollow existence, where every compliment felt like a transaction. Instead of genuine friendships, she found herself in a world of shallow exchanges. She missed June more than she could admit, but pride kept her silent. Meanwhile, June flourished in her own way. She had embraced her solitude, finding strength in her studies and her passion for art. In the quiet of her room, she painted, each stroke of the brush a release of emotions. She had come to understand that true resilience did not come from popularity, but from self-acceptance. "I can be enough just as I am," June often told herself, looking at her finished canvas, a vibrant landscape that reflected her spirit. At school, June had become a beacon of inspiration for others. Students admired her quiet confidence, some even seeking her out for friendship. "You're so brave, June," a shy girl had said one day. "I wish I could be like you." June smiled, her heart swelling with warmth. "You are brave in your own way," she replied softly. "Just believe in yourself." Celeste noticed the change in June. She saw her friend's growing circle and the way people lit up around her. It was painful to witness. Each time she spotted June laughing with new friends, a pang of regret pierced Celeste's heart. "What have I lost?" she whispered to herself, her reflection in the mirror revealing a girl she barely recognized anymore. One evening, Celeste found herself staring at her phone, the screen glowing in the dim light of her room. She hesitated, her fingers hovering over June's contact. "I should reach out," she thought, but the fear of rejection gripped her. What if June didn't want to talk to her anymore? What if she had moved on for good? The thought twisted in her stomach, leaving her feeling trapped in her own choices. "It's not too late," she tried to convince herself, but doubt echoed louder. The laughter of her new friends felt distant, and the emptiness of their conversations weighed heavily on her. What is the price of this popularity? Celeste pondered late into the night, unable to find peace in her thoughts. Days turned into weeks, and the internal conflict grew. Celeste stood at the crossroads of her life, torn between the glittering world of popularity and the heartfelt memories of true friendship. She wanted to reclaim what she had lost, yet every time she attempted to reach out, fear held her back. Would it be worth it? Could she face the girl she had hurt so deeply? As she lay in bed one night, staring at the ceiling, Celeste finally whispered into the silence, "I miss you, June." The words hung in the air, heavy with longing. The realization struck her that the price of popularity was far greater than she had ever imagined. It was the loss of herself, and perhaps the loss of her best friend. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the Whitmore estate. It was a stark contrast to the storm brewing within Celeste. News of her father's scandal had spread like wildfire, igniting whispers and gossip among the elite circles she once thrived in. The walls that had once shielded her from the harsh truths of life now felt suffocating, closing in on her as she sat alone in her room. "Can you believe it?" one of her friends had said earlier that day, her voice dripping with mockery. "The great Whitmore family, brought down by a scandal. It's almost poetic." Celeste stared at her reflection in the mirror, her heart heavy with shame and confusion. She had spent years building a facade, surrounding herself with people who valued wealth over character. Now, as the laughter of her friends faded into silence, she realized how fragile that world truly was. In the days following the scandal, Celeste found herself increasingly isolated. Her so-called friends vanished, their texts and calls replaced by a deafening silence. The glittering parties and lavish events that once filled her calendar were now distant memories. Alone in her grand room, she felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. "Why did I care so much?" she whispered to herself, her voice breaking. "What was it all for?" As she paced the floor, her mind wandered to June. The memory of her childhood friend flooded her thoughts, reminding her of a time when life felt simpler. June had always been different, genuine, grounded, and full of life. Celeste remembered how they used to laugh together, sharing dreams and secrets without a hint of pretense. Those memories felt like a lifeline in her current turmoil. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from a group chat filled with unkind jokes about her father. Anger surged through her, followed by a wave of sorrow. She typed a response, her fingers trembling. "This isn't funny. You're all being cruel." But as she hit send, she knew it would change nothing. The next day, Celeste found herself wandering through the town, the weight of her emotions heavy on her shoulders. She passed the cafe where she and June used to spend hours, talking about everything and nothing. It felt strange to be there alone, the laughter of past conversations echoing in her mind. "Hey, Celeste." A familiar voice broke through her thoughts. She turned to see June, radiant and confident, walking towards her. The sight of her childhood friend sent a rush of conflicting emotions through Celeste. She wanted to run to June, to embrace her and apologize for everything. But the rift between them felt insurmountable. "June," Celeste said hesitantly, "I didn't expect to see you here." "I could say the same," June replied, a hint of coolness in her tone. "How are you holding up with everything?" Celeste felt her heart sink. I don't know. It's hard. I thought I had it all figured out. But now..." June's expression softened momentarily. "It's okay to feel lost, Celeste. Sometimes things have to fall apart for us to see what really matters." "I wish I could turn back time," Celeste admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I miss you. I miss us." June studied her for a moment, her eyes searching for sincerity. "It's not that simple. You made your choices. You chose popularity over friendship." "I know," Celeste said, tears welling in her eyes. "I was wrong. I was so focused on fitting in that I lost sight of what mattered. You were always there for me, and I pushed you away." June sighed, her demeanor shifting slightly. "It's hard for me to forget how you treated me. I felt so small next to you when you were at your best. And then, when you were at your worst, you didn't even reach out." "I'm sorry," Celeste replied, her voice breaking. "I truly am. I've realized that true wealth is not about status or money. It's about the people we surround ourselves with, the ones who see us for who we really are." For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken words. June's expression softened, but the hurt lingered in her eyes. "I want to believe you, Celeste. But it's going to take time." As they stood there, amidst the bustling cafe and the distant sounds of laughter, Celeste felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this moment of honesty was the first step toward healing. She knew it would not be easy, but the desire for redemption burned brightly within her. Celeste Whitmore sat at her desk, the afternoon light streaming through her window, illuminating the blank pages before her. She had spent days trying to gather her thoughts, crafting heartfelt letters to June, but each time she felt a lump in her throat and a weight in her chest. The words seemed to vanish the moment she picked up her pen, leaving her with nothing but silence and regret. "What if she doesn't want to hear from me?" Celeste whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. She sighed, pushing the letters aside. The guilt of her past actions hung over her like a dark cloud. She remembered the look on June's face that night at the gala. The hurt, the confusion, and the betrayal. It was a memory that haunted Celeste, reminding her of the distance she had created between them. Meanwhile, June Matthews was doing her best to move on with her life. She had thrown herself into her studies and found comfort in her new friends, those who valued her for who she was, not for the image she could project. Yet, deep down, she still felt the sting of Celeste's rejection. When she received a letter from Celeste, it was a bittersweet moment. The familiar handwriting brought back memories of their shared laughter and dreams, but that was overshadowed by the hurt. "Why now?" June murmured, staring at the unopened envelope. She felt a mix of longing and anger. She had her chance. Why should I trust her again? As days passed, Celeste's determination grew, but so did her anxiety. One evening, she made a decision. She would confront June in person. She had to face her fears and show her friend how much she had changed. Celeste drove to the cozy cafe where they used to meet, her heart racing with every mile. When she arrived, she spotted June sitting at a corner table, a book in her hands. The sight of her friend brought a rush of memories, both sweet and painful. Celeste took a deep breath and approached. "June," she said softly, her voice trembling. June looked up, her expression unreadable. "Celeste." The tone was cold, but Celeste recognized the flicker of surprise in June's eyes. "I know you don't want to see me," Celeste started, her heart pounding. "But I needed to talk to you. Can we sit?" June hesitated but nodded, her gaze shifting back to her book. Celeste took a seat across from her, feeling the distance between them like a chasm. "Look, I know I hurt you," Celeste began, her voice breaking. "I was so caught up in my image and my friends that I lost sight of what really mattered. I thought being popular would make me happy, but it only left me feeling empty." June's eyes narrowed. "And you think that just because you realize that now, it changes everything?" "No, I don't expect it to," Celeste replied quickly. "But I want you to know that I'm sorry. I miss you, and I want to earn back your trust. I understand if you don't want to forgive me right away." June's expression softened slightly, but the hurt was still there. "You had every chance to be there for me, Celeste, and you chose to ignore me. It's not easy to forget that." "I know," Celeste admitted, tears forming in her eyes. "I was selfish. I let my fear of losing my status blind me to what was real. I feel so lonely without you. I realize now that true friendship is more valuable than any popularity." June looked at Celeste, her heart torn between her feelings of betrayal and the friendship they once had. "It's going to take time. You can't just expect me to forget everything." "I don't expect that," Celeste said, her voice filled with sincerity. "I'm willing to wait. I just want a chance to prove that I can change." Silence settled between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. June took a deep breath, her gaze returning to the table. "I need time to think," she finally said, her voice quiet but firm. Celeste nodded, feeling a mix of hope and despair. She had taken the first step, but the road to rebuilding their friendship would not be easy. As she left the cafe, she realized that vulnerability was a difficult path, but it was the only way forward. The journey to reconnecting with June had started, and she would do whatever it took to mend the bond they once shared. The air was heavy with sorrow as Celeste Whitmore stood in the garden of her family home, a place that once felt warm and inviting. Now, it felt cold and distant. Just days ago, a tragic accident had taken her younger brother, leaving a void that echoed through the halls of their once lively house. The laughter and joy that had filled their home were replaced by a profound silence, a silence that amplified the weight of her grief. Celeste felt lost, adrift in a sea of emotions. She had chased popularity and status, but now, with her brother gone, the emptiness of those pursuits struck her hard. As she wandered through the garden, she recalled moments of warmth and joy shared with her brother, playing tag, sharing snacks, and laughing until their sides hurt. Those memories felt like faint whispers in a storm, reminding her of what truly mattered. In her heart, Celeste knew she could no longer ignore the pain she had caused June. The distance between them had grown, but in her sorrow, she felt an urgent need to reach out. She picked up her phone, her fingers trembling as she typed a message. "June, can we talk? I need you." She hesitated before pressing send, fear gripping her heart. Would June still want to hear from her? After everything, could she forgive her? The minutes stretched on, and just as doubt began to creep in, her phone buzzed. "I'll be there." The response was short, but it ignited a flicker of hope within Celeste. She quickly tidied up the garden, trying to create a welcoming space. The flowers, though wilting, were a reminder of beauty amid the sorrow. When June arrived, Celeste's heart raced. June walked towards her, her expression a blend of caution and curiosity. The two stood facing each other, the weight of their history hanging in the air. "Celeste," June began, her voice steady but soft. "Why did you want to see me?" Celeste swallowed hard, grappling with the words she had rehearsed in her mind. I wanted to apologize. I've been so lost in my own world that I pushed you away. I'm sorry for how I treated you." June's eyes searched Celeste's, looking for sincerity. "You hurt me, Celeste. It wasn't just a small thing. You made me feel like I didn't matter." "I know," Celeste replied, her voice trembling. "I didn't realize how much I needed you until it was too late. After the accident, everything changed. I feel so empty." A silence fell between them, thick with unspoken words. Finally, June spoke again, her tone softer. "I've missed you, but I can't just forget what happened." Celeste nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't expect you to. I just want a chance to show you I can be better. I want to be a friend to you again, if you'll let me." June took a step closer, her expression shifting from hurt to understanding. "It won't be easy. Trust is hard to rebuild." "I understand," Celeste said, her heart aching. "I'm willing to try. I just want to share my pain with you. I feel so alone, and I need you now more than ever." With those words, June's defenses began to soften. "I can't promise that everything will go back to how it was, but I'm willing to talk." Celeste felt a rush of relief wash over her. "Thank you, June. That means everything to me." As they sat together in the garden, tears began to flow freely. They shared stories of their past, the good and the bad, allowing the pain of their separation to surface. Celeste spoke of her brother, her grief spilling out with every word. June listened, her heart aching for her friend. In that moment, surrounded by the remnants of a garden once filled with laughter, they began to navigate the delicate process of forgiveness. They acknowledged the pain, the betrayal, and the longing that lingered in the air. "Maybe we can start fresh," June suggested, a small smile breaking through. "One step at a time?" Celeste nodded, hope blooming within her. One step at a time. As the sun set behind them, casting a warm glow over the garden, both girls felt the stirrings of a new beginning. They would face the journey of healing together, slowly piecing together the fragments of their friendship, one heartfelt conversation at a time. Celeste and June sat on the worn wooden bench in the park, a place that held countless memories of their childhood. The air was crisp, and the leaves danced in the gentle breeze, signaling the arrival of autumn. For the first time in a long while, the silence between them felt less heavy, almost comforting. "I missed this," June said softly, her eyes scanning the landscape. "Just sitting here, talking about silly things." Celeste nodded, feeling a warmth spread in her chest. "Me too. I forgot how peaceful it is. It feels like home." June turned to her, a hint of a smile touching her lips. "You know, it's okay to be real, Celeste. You don't have to wear that perfect mask all the time." The words struck Celeste deeply. She felt the weight of her past choices pressing down on her heart. "I know that now. I got lost in trying to be someone I thought I had to be. It's taken me a while to understand that. June studied her friend closely. I saw it happen. You changed. You became someone I didn't recognize. But I also see that you're trying to find your way back. Celeste swallowed hard. I hurt you, June. It was wrong. I let everything, status, popularity, cloud my judgment. I should have been there for you. Her voice trembled slightly, revealing the vulnerability she had kept buried for so long. You were my best friend, and then you turned away from me, June replied, her tone steady but filled with emotion. It felt like I lost a part of myself. I had to learn to stand on my own. It wasn't easy. I know, Celeste whispered, feeling the tears prick at her eyes. I admire your strength. You've become someone I look up to. I wish I had been more like you. June's expression softened. It's not about being like anyone else. It's about being true to yourself. I had to find that in the silence after you left. They sat quietly for a moment, the sounds of the park filling the space between them. Children were playing nearby, their laughter echoing like a sweet melody. Celeste took a deep breath, gathering her courage. Can we start over? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to rebuild what we had. I want to be honest with you and myself. June looked into Celeste's eyes, searching for sincerity. It won't be easy. Trust doesn't come back overnight. But I'm willing to try if you are. I am, Celeste replied, her heart racing. I promise to be open and to show you who I really am. No more pretending. June smiled gently, the tension easing between them. Then let's take it slow. We can share our stories, our fears. Maybe we can even laugh about the silly things we used to do. Celeste chuckled, grateful for the lightness in the air. Like that time we tried to bake cookies and ended up with a kitchen disaster? Exactly, June laughed, her eyes sparkling with fondness. I remember the flour everywhere. Mom was not happy. The conversation flowed more easily now, and they began to share stories, reminiscing about their childhood adventures. With each shared memory, they began to stitch together the fabric of their friendship, thread by thread. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the park, Celeste felt a sense of hope. They had a long way to go, but this moment marked the beginning of their healing journey. Celeste, June said, her tone more serious now. I want you to know that I care about you. I'm here and I want to support you, but you have to be honest with yourself first. I will, Celeste promised, determination in her voice. I will be honest, and I will work to earn your trust back. You deserve that. With a shared understanding, they sat together, embracing the quiet moments that spoke volumes. In the warmth of their renewed connection, Celeste realized that true relationships could weather storms and emerge stronger, defined not by perfection, but by authenticity and empathy. Share this story if you believe that true friendship can overcome even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when reconnecting with someone changed your life, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.